I came to inspire. My job is the way it is. My passion is the way it is because I genuinely believe that I can have hopefully an impact on the next generation.
Hello and welcome to the Knowness podcast, the Vault of Knowledge. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Vault of Knowledge. Today we'll be talking to Amaan Ahmed, or Mr. Ahmed, our English subject lead and also a teacher. We'll be talking about his transition from being a student to becoming a teacher and then coming back to teach at the same school he went to. We'll also be discussing about the great powers and responsibilities a teacher has and how to actually become a teacher. So thank you and join us for this week's episode. So Amaan, how are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah, bro, I'm doing well.
That's good, man. So just tell me a bit about yourself.
About me, I'm an ECT1 English teacher.
Yep.
And I primarily teach, obviously, English language and literature.
Okay, cool. So did you go uni? Tell me about a bit about your educational background.
No, I get you. I've born and bred in Peterborough, went to an inner city school.
Yep.
Majority poor white demographic. So it wasn't really much of, I guess you say, people from my ethnic background there.
Yeah.
I had a couple, but in terms of the majority, it was poor white. I went there, obviously done my GCSEs, we'll get into it, I guess, later a bit more. And I got the grades to go to a better school on the outskirts of Peterborough, in the suburbs, if you will, in Glinton called, I don't know if I'll name drop. We called it AMVC. It was a decent school. It's not like something out of this world. It was a decent school. It was a better school than the one I went to. And it allowed me to get the opportunities to go and hopefully do A-levels and get the grades to go somewhere better, where I didn't feel I would have got those opportunities if I was at the base school that I done my GCSEs at.
Gotcha,
I did okay-ish to get the grades. I had loads of circumstances.
You got what you needed to get, right?
Exactly. I got what I needed to get to go to university and do a philosophy degree, which I did at University of Birmingham here. And I knew from around late year 11-ish to around year 13 that I wanted to do a degree to convert it to a PGCE, which is a postgraduate certificate of education.
Gotcha,
I just wanted to be a teacher. And I was very lucky to have that kind of drive and passion to want to do it so early, because not many people do. Not many people know what they want to do in life.
Exactly.
You know, so went to UOB and then got my BA in philosophy. At that point, I knew I needed to go and convert it, so I went to University of Nottingham, and I started doing my PGCE there. But due to some issues that I'm not sure, maybe I will get into it. I said, you know what, I'm going to take a break. And I did security for the rest of that year, and ended up was like, you know what, I need to come home and finish it. I need to teach in my city to really feel the passion that, you know, that
initial passion.
Yes, exactly. To find it again, because I was losing it in Nottingham, man. Like I lost the want to actually, I guess you could say, inspire the next generation when I was in Nottingham with kids that I didn't know that I couldn't relate to. And they couldn't relate to me, because who am I? I'm not from Nottingham.
Exactly.
So, I went back to Peterborough and I completed my PGCE last year via the University of Hull. It was like an online thing /
I was going to say, it sounds quite far away. It was like it was like a remote online.
Exactly. It was like a remote online, but they brought people in to assess me. And got my PGCE the last academic year. And I started my teaching this year. Thank you.
Yeah. And the school you're teaching at is the same school.
The exact same school,
That's
man.
Crazy. You know, I find that amazing. Going from like a school you studied in, going all the way back and coming back as a teacher. And seeing that change. And I'm guessing some of the same teachers are there. And stuff like that.
Even in the same department as me as I won't say his name. I don't know. I don't know about the whole GDPR about this, but the same teacher is still there, and he taught me before, and he's been there for decades now.
That's amazing.
But it's odd, the relationships with teachers.
They're changing that dynamic.
Yes, the dynamic. No one prepares you for that, man.
Exactly, I can imagine.
But it's a blessing to be able to go back to the place that I was taught at and hopefully inspire the same demographic of kids that I came from.
And seeing where it started. Exactly. So I guess we'll just kind of talk about that kind of journey, right? So at what point in that journey did you realize, you know, I want to teach? Where did that start? Or was it not like one step?
No,
was it kind of like built up?
It's connected. I've told this story many times before to like friends and family, but it will help if put more context in there. As a kid, growing up in Peterborough, especially in the areas that I grew up in, it was quite harsh conditions. Like you're going out and it's the streets, like the main street is there. It's the noise. It's everything to do with the city is happening where I lived, and it was
This is quite chaotic.
you're not exactly living a quiet life, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's the worst place in the world, by the way, because people watch it be like, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But
it's like some war zone.
No guns are being shot or anything like that. But it wasn't a place that you could say harbored and nurtured an academic spirit. That's a euphemism for you. People who came from my area did not do well, did not go to university. That was the stereotype for people who lived in Milford.
Typically, they wouldn't go like higher education.
No. Even now, I'm the only one who walks down my street in a suit. Do you know what I mean? That crazy, just shows it. Do you know what I mean? So, knowing that I went to school, I was not the best student. I got into fights as soon as year 7 started. That kid, innit? Do you know what I mean?
The troublemaker.
Exactly. I was not recognized for my academic prowess. Let's just say that. I was more looked at for what I looked like, how I behaved, the colloquial language I used to always use, the slang that would always come here and there. It would never be, Amaan's a clever kid. And I was a bright kid. I did well on my SATs, but that wasn't the first thing you saw about Amaan Ahmed.
That's not what stuck out. No. It's not like the characteristics you first see.
Exactly. I had a teacher in year 7. His name was Mr. Rushton. And he said, class, can we just stop here? Look at how Amaan has just really portrayed that scene, really walked into the room and taken the archetype of a bodyguard. And everyone was like, oh, really? Oh. And I was like, oh, I did that, okay. And he was like, best in the class, that's like a 7, whatever it was. And I was like, oh yeah, we're quite proud.
Yeah, you realize that you can actually do that.
Genuinely,
you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a nice
first
feeling.
recognized for being smart at something.
Yeah.
Gassed.
It's like the external recognition, you know what I mean?
That's what I needed. It was like validation, right? And as the years went on, little things from maths teachers and stuff, I started to be like, oh, he's actually quite smart. This guy isn't just a guy who gets into fights all the time. He's not just a ruffian. He's actually a kid who has potential, right? Then it hit year 11. A big jump, 3-4-3-year jump. But that's when I really started to feel like a bit of injustice in terms of how my papers were marked. Genuinely. My handwriting was crap. That didn't help. But the content was good. You know, I wrote very well, not just for English, but I wrote well in all my subjects. And I genuinely just did not feel like I was given my fruits, my rewards. And then in came a teacher, and her name was Miss, and she was, shout out. Turns out she wasn't a great colleague for the teachers, but in terms of the kind of leader she was for us in the classroom, really putting us into check as kids who were ruffians, who did not care, who would literally make teachers cry, and that it was like it was celebrated that we were that naughty of a class, right? You know the kind of classes.
I've been in them.
She came in, she said, "Sit down, shut up, let's work." And she went through the whole syllabus. You know how we've got Knowness, we'll have English language, and you have the different modules for biology and so on. She went through the whole course, A, B, C, how to get it done. And we knew that we had the material to make it. Genuinely. And
everything was there already.
Everything was there. And she taught with a proper inspiration in her. Like you couldn't feel anything but I want to do well. And you wanted to work for her.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? You wanted to do well to make yourself feel proud and to make her proud. Right?
To do right by, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because she's putting in the effort.
Exactly.
And
so I ended up getting really good in my GCSEs and she left. So I was like, I can't stay here and do my A-levels. Do you know what I mean? And this obviously gives more context to me wanting to move out to a different school.
To the other school,
Exactly.
Because you wanted to do well and you realized that's not really the place to do well.
Exactly. So I thought, you know what?
For you,
let me go to a different school. And you know what? Maybe actually think about becoming a teacher, because I realized that if I can get here, Amaan Ahmed, Asian kid from Millfield, if I can get a star, whatever, other kids can get that too.
Who else? You know what I mean?
Genuinely. And it was a little inkling, but it was the first, like, I want to do this. Other parts of me was like, I want to be an actor. I want to go into boxing fully. You know, it's just, you know,
there's all sorts of passions.
Exactly.
Kind of
but the base bedrock was theirs, and I wanted to be a teacher, man.
Gotcha.
So I went to AMVC, and this was again where I felt genuine prejudice. And I'll put it as clear as day to you, and I promise you this is how it was. When I came to the school, they genuinely did not like the way I looked, the way that I behaved, and it was shown through the predicted marks they was going to give me. So they gave me, I did geography, English literature, and drama, right?
Gotcha,
They gave me E's as my predicted for my AS.
That's crazy.
E's, yeah? So
I don't know how you can get an E.
So what ended up happening was I did my AS levels and they were marked outside of the school. So there's no prejudice now.
Yeah. So it's external.
Exactly. The only one that was not marked outside was geography. That was marked in-house. Drama and English literature marked outside.
All external, yeah.
Guess what grades I got?
What would you get?
Guess.
I'm guessing, I don't know, A's, B's?
AAE.
AAE.
I got the A's, guessing which?
I'm guessing, so that was the ones that weren't marked, I'm guessing.
Exactly, the ones that are marked externally, properly, by exam board, English literature.
All A's.
English literature, drama, A's.
Yeah.
The
Geography.
That's crazy. I swear to God, I went to the teacher and I said, Miss, I don't know how I got A's in these.
Yeah.
And I got an E in yours. And looking back, obviously, benefit of hindsight, like I would be like, if a kid said that to me, like, oh, maybe I'm not marking, I'd feel really bad. But as a kid, I felt hard done by it, man. Like,
man.
I really
like they're
put
against
effort.
you. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? Yeah.
I fully felt that I put so much effort into doing well. Is it really my fault that I'm getting this E?
Yeah.
Or is it you're not marking my
No, it's
paper?
crazy to see like the impact like these teachers can have on you. You know what I mean? You go from that one teacher that inspired you, and now you're this one. Who kind of pushed you down, kind of made you feel like they're like out against you. Made you doubt yourself as well.
Fully. And I after that, I realized, you know what? I want the other Amaan Ahmeds, you know, the Eva Smiths and John Smiths of the world to really actually feel like they can get good grades. Yeah. And I knew I had potential to do well. And my English teachers, as soon as I got that A, they started treating me very differently.
Yeah.
Very, no, genuinely.
No, they realized,
even during my teaching year, she did a session for the initial teacher training.
Yeah.
And I talked to her about it and how it made me feel that, you know, the attitudes changed as soon as I got the grade. And maybe it is half my fault. I wasn't exactly the best behaved student either.
Yeah.
So half of the prejudice is mine of the making. But so I ended up getting those grades. And then and I was like, you know, I need to pull up my E, man, because that's still an E. I ended up trying so hard to pull that E that my other two grades dropped to B's. And I ended up with BBC. That's what I said. I didn't do too well in my A-levels, but I got enough just to get there.
A bit
exactly,
more.
No, genuinely it was AAE, BBC. I, even up until, I promise you, and Silver's my witness, maybe, hopefully, I thought about those grades all the way until the end of second year. That's how much it affected me.
That's crazy,
Genuinely.
Wait, second year of uni?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That much of a...
Yes, bro. I was known, I wasn't known, man. As a kid, I wanted to know that at least I was good in something properly.
Yeah.
Like even if I got
really, at least there's that one thing.
Yeah.
And they were really,
you know, if I got my A star in biology and it wasn't English, let's just say, at least I could say biology was my thing and no one can mess with me. Biology is mine, right?
Yeah.
Bro, for me to come out of BBC, it was on fire. I was thinking, what, not even one thing? I'd take a D in geography if I can get
like your self-confidence and stuff like that.
Bro, I think about it, in my drama, there was two assessments. It was one that was performance and it was one that was written. Yeah. My drama performance, I got full marks or like close to full marks. It was like an A star. I got a D in the written, but somehow I'm getting B's and A's in English literature. That makes no sense. Loads of iffy business, but everything made me want to go and become a teacher who marked fairly and inspire.
I know what you mean. Because then you have the example of those two teachers, right?
Yeah.
There's that one that really pushed you, inspired you, made you do good, and then you feel good. It's like a win-win.
Yeah, it's self-esteem.
They get good students,
and
then you feel good as well. You feel proud.
It's unlocking potential, man.
Exactly. And then there's another one where the other teacher you mentioned where it's the opposite. You feel like they're against you. You feel like, you know...
You're fighting an uphill battle.
Exactly. You feel like, you don't even know what your potential is. You don't even know there is a potential.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? You feel like you're capped at that E. You are an E, that's it.
You're E. There's a... philosopher actually just brought to mind called Miranda Fricker. Yeah. And she came up with a theory called hermeneutical injustice. And this is a theory that basically encapsulates the idea that there are people who are oppressed or prejudiced. They're a disadvantaged group. Yeah. And they don't realize they are disadvantaged because they're in this bubble. This bubble that doesn't recognize they have disadvantages. So obviously recognizing those who are in minority and ethnic groups. That will be today's Romanians, post-assimilation, Polish, Lithuanian, and then obviously before that, Pakistanis, before that, blacks, right? Especially in Peterborough. We didn't realize we were fighting an uphill battle. So we were part of this hermeneutical injustice, this injustice that was done to us because we are part of a system that doesn't actually want to appreciate our potential. Yeah,
it doesn't acknowledge
at all. I studied this in my second or third year of philosophy. Yeah. And as soon as I read that paper, I was like, damn, I had that. I went through that.
That was you.
Yeah.
In that little,
little
bubble, little circle.
Exactly. So I want to be part of pop in those bubbles for all my students to make sure that every single one of them is assessed fairly and with justice.
Exactly. And giving them that insight.
Yeah.
You know, knowing that that's your potential.
Yes.
Because you had that initially, and then you realize, you know, I guess that E kind of put into perspective how you kind of in that kind of bubble.
Yeah.
That you kind of, that, you know, that, because then you feel like I'm E.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're the A's, the A stars, and I guess your whole passion is showing that to other students.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess, I think one thing that's really interesting is how like some students may not realize that they're in that bubble. Like you said, part of the theory, right, is that they don't realize they're in that bubble. They go about their days thinking that's just normal. You know, E's, C's, B's. It's you know, they don't realize that they're worth so much more. That they're able to, you know.
Yeah, jumping on that, I have hopefully you won't see this, but I have a kid, I won't say his name obviously. Let's call him Alfie. Yeah.
Alfie, man like Alfie.
Yeah, exactly. Man like Alfie. And he's seen by all the other teachers in school, all his other subjects as he's not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
That's how he's seen.
The perspective that they had.
Yeah. I read his English work. I forced him to do his assessment. He was one of those kids who would put his head down. He wouldn't give a crap.
Yeah.
I forced him to do his assessment, even gave him extra time. And I was with him at break time. I was like, Alfie, come on, let's go.
Get pushed.
Genuinely, just to see, like, maybe this kid has something, right? But I read his work, genuinely really good. I give him an extra point. He's in year 10, right?
Yeah.
I gave him an extra point just because of how well it was written. Yeah. He was known as like a EU student. Like he was not going to get one. Kind of genuinely, I'm not joking here. He ended up getting a strong 6, which is the equivalent of like our B.
Yeah.
Right?
We did it,
in year 10. Yeah. If he sat that assessment for his paper, his real GCSE paper, he would have got a B.
Yeah.
So I looked at this kid and I gave it to him and I was moving around my room and I put kids in a seating plan. Yeah. And I put him on like the goodish side where all the smart people are in it.
Yeah.
just to make him feel like, oh, okay, I'm surrounded.
That kind of
Sir thinks I'm here.
Yeah.
Whole energy's changed.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
His whole energy's changed.
Yeah.
And it was half of me to put him there and to give him that extra little mark, right? For his self-esteem. It was a bit of a social experiment. See how well it would actually change his behavior. Yeah. My God, did it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Formative assessments, right? Yeah. Summative is when it's finished.
Yeah.
Formative assessments can be used as a tool to inspire kids and to hopefully get them to reflect on how to do better.
Yeah.
This is exactly what that formative assessment did to that kid. Real life example happened a week ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's recent. Yeah.
So it can prove this hermeneutical injustice. It can prove that I can pop those bubbles, and any teacher who wishes to inspire can pop those bubbles.
That's what's so crazy, because I feel like a lot of people have the perspective that teachers are just, it's like this, it's like a requirement, you know? You're there, you just have to teach and then you move on. Yeah. But like the power they have is crazy.
No, and
I spoke to you about this before as well, like my own experiences as well.
Yeah.
You know, English literature, I had no interest in it. I made one piece of work that I thought I was really passionate about. I thought it was really interesting. I showed it to him and...
the Walking Dead one.
Yeah,
so I'll be like, oh yeah,
that one,
The Walking Dead one,
Yeah. And then just seeing how, like, you know, how amazed he was by it and how shocked he was.
Yeah.
And how passionate he was about it made me realize, you know, I can actually do this.
Yeah.
This is something I can actually do.
Yeah.
And it really makes you realize, like, you're not capped at a certain level. Like the sky is the limit.
Genuinely.
And certain teachers, you know, they just don't care.
No.
You walk in, they slap you some piece of work and you move on with your life. But those certain teachers, right, that give you that inspiration is life-changing.
It's energy.
And it actually is life-changing.
Yeah.
You know I mean, if you didn't have that first teacher, you know, where would you be?
No.
If you had a streak of just bad teachers.
This is why I say I got very lucky.
Exactly.
Not many people have that Mr. Rushton, have that Miss Martin, have that whoever it is to just get them there.
Yeah.
And even then, they could have that Miss Martin, they could have that Mr. Rushton.
Yeah.
But they're not there in the exact moment they need to be.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That moment where Mr. Rushton can inspire, that moment when Miss Martin can inspire you, right? Yeah. And it's sad because, yes, there are pressures on teachers. And I'm not here to speak for all teachers. Yeah. But the energy is lost with teaching. Yeah. I saw it when I was in school. I saw you could see through a teacher that was exhausted or who did not care. You could see it and you'd run through them.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Will you just mess about? If
and
you don't
do the
give
whole
a crap,
science lesson.
why will I?
Dash glue sticks across the room. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna show this to my friends. Everyone knows what in behind the camera. Science lessons were a piss up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You do all right,
man.
You'd focus when you need to, but damn, like, it was,
as soon as
languages,
turns around, then it supply teacher comes in.
Languages, man. I had an amazing teacher.
No one takes it seriously. You know what I mean? It's just a chance to have fun with your mates.
Yeah, because you know you're not going to do French or Italian or Spanish.
You don't care about it. You know what I mean? Or even maths, you get a calculator. That's it. That's like the mentality.
Get a calculator.
Yeah.
I had an amazing, and she's still there, man. And she was literally like a maternal figure to me. Her name was Miss Ferguson, and she would tell me off constantly and send me outside the room to get me away from the other kids, because obviously I was a bit of a class clown. I even got the award for it back in graduation. Anyway, she sent me out, and every lesson, and she'd just be like, "Amaan, what are you doing? Come on, blah, blah, blah." And she was always angry, but then she always just leveled. And I felt bad. And she used to say, "Amaan, you're really good at German." She only used to say it to me. "You're really good at German. You're really good at German." And she really wanted me to do German. She is another teacher who, even though I didn't do her subject in the end, genuinely made me feel like she cared. And it's just having that caring element. To this day, I go and see her. "Hey, Miss Ferguson, I'm going to show you the video." And she knows that I got to go and see her. And I've even apologized for my behavior because she cared.
That's what I'm saying. It's something as simple as that.
Just caring.
Life changing.
And it
changes so much.
It's cliche to say though.
I know it doesn't. It sounds very cliche, but it's true.
All they need to do is care. I swear to God.
But legit, it does
even if you fake it, but properly fake it. If you're a really good actor, like how we're code switching that right now, right? Even if you just act. If teachers could just work on their acting skills a bit and regulate their mental health a bit more to just at least get the kids to be inspired.
And make them feel like seen, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can see me.
And acknowledged.
Yeah.
You know, you've done really well.
Acknowledge the work and
Because I have a lot of kids that when I'm sitting there and I'm grading their papers, obviously you work from a criteria, especially when you're in maths or science, something that's more empirical with yes or no answers. With English, it's subjective. You can play around with the marks a bit, which is hypocritical because I hated that part of it.
Yeah, it's that subjectivity, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Some students need humbling because they can go further. Some students need that push of motivation, like that Alfie kid, right?
You can actually do it.
Exactly. And you give them that extra little...
And then it unlocks that potential and then you see where they go.
Formative assessments in that part of it, obviously GCSEs, is just getting them to scaffold up until you do really well and you can just do it on your own.
Gotcha,
But that's the story about
it. But okay, so you decided at one point you wanted to do teaching, right?
Yeah.
But why English? That's because looking back, if I was to go back, like I remember one of my favorite teachers was Miss Woodage. You know, she's like a philosophy and ethics teacher. Shout out her.
Shout out, man.
And so if I was ever to go back, it'd be that. It'd be to do philosophy and ethics or religion because that's something that I loved. I was very passionate about, and she was really passionate about as well. And it made you love it.
Yeah.
If I had a different teacher, I probably would never even given it a second thought.
Yeah.
But like I really went into like philosophy and like ethics and reading around the subject and like Eastern religions and that kind of stuff. And it was because of her, you know what I mean? So if I was to go back, I think I'd either do that or maybe sciences. But with you, why was English?
Yeah. As you were talking through that philosophy and ethics thing, I was thinking, those subjects I love as well. I love comparative religion, but why English? You know, when I was saying to you, I really wanted that subject just to be like, I got that.
Yeah.
English was the only one that I had that.
That's something you felt proud about.
So when I went, obviously before you get your GCSEs, you complete your assessments and then you go and apply for different sixth form colleges. So when you do that, you give them your own predicted grades about what you're going to get. I told them I'm going to get A's in science, I'm going to get A's in maths, English probably B's, blah, 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 right? Ended up coming out with only 2 A stars and they were both in English. I changed everything.
Gotcha.
I ended up doing drama, ended up doing English lit, and ended up doing geography just because Mr. O'Neill, shout out to Mr. O'Neill,
shout him.
He genuinely made me feel just as well as Miss Ferguson did, the language teacher, about how good I was at geography. English literature was one that I just ended up doing really well at and advancing past the regular average level. And the ideas that I could share and the professional waffling that I could do, even as I'm doing right now, I could articulate it really well on a page. So the reason why it was English is because that was the one that I excelled at. And if I can excel at that, I can teach well at it. Because if you have a good understanding of something, you can teach it. If you can waffle your way, I could waffle my way along in science and all the other subjects and maths, but if you are truly knowledgeable in the subject you teach, you'll be the best teacher.
Yeah.
So for me to do English, I had to, because it was the one that I was most comfortable in.
Gotcha. That
Do you know
makes
what I mean?
sense. Yeah.
Actually, that's a lie. I would say I'm much more stronger in comparative religion, so RE, and philosophy than I am in English, just because it's my teacher. Hopefully my students don't see this, but I do more research into religion because of our faith, because of Islam,
Of course,
than I do English, because as much as reading books and studying them and analyzing them is great, I'm even writing one of my own. Even that's great. I actually still feel there's so much value in actually reading into religion, learning about religion, extrapolating from religion, and how we can bridge gaps.
Inherently, like with that.
100%.
Yeah. So it draws you closer to you, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And that's my faith. But English is because I got that grade, and because I was recognized for being an academic because of that grade in English. Not if I got my grades in drama, if I got my grades in music, which are still, by the way, really good subjects. I would be in my cohort of my year of class. I'd be looked down upon. But because I did all right in English, at least, mom was good at something that was seen as academic, or more academic than, I guess, vocational subjects. Again, they're great subjects, not hating on them, just saying for my cohort and the stereotype of vocation courses.
So you're an English teacher. That's what you decided to do. You're also an English subject lead at Knowness as well.
Yeah, gangster.
But then at university, the philosophy. Why not English? Talk to me a bit about that. Was it just something you were interested in? And
it genuinely was. I knew that I wanted to end up getting a PGCE, and I talked to my auntie, who was a TA at the time, and she said you just need to get a PGCE. I was like, oh, okay. Do you have to have a specific grade? She's like, no. Just if you want to teach a subject, I was like, oh, but what if I have an A-level in it? It was like, yeah. And I was like, you know what then? Philosophy seems interesting. I read the tiniest bit about it. Marcus Aurelius, the ancient Greek stuff.
The main,
And I was like, yeah, why not? Ended up learning about logic, quantificational logic, argumentation, philosophy of religion and ethics, and deep diving into genuinely really interesting things. And I ended up specializing in sex ethics and philosophy, which was to do with perversions.
Gotcha.
And I got really into it because
like the origins of them and how they kind of come about. And,
exactly. And I wanted to do my dissertation on something really controversial. I don't know if I can say half the stuff I want to say, but you can edit it out.
Controversial stuff.
But I ended up wanting to do it on sex ethics and philosophy because it links to faith. My dissertation ended up being on chastity.
It links very heavily to faith as well.
100% it does, because that's our id, our Freudian id, right? Our desires, how we control them, how we regulate them.
And our conflicts with them.
Exactly. Because there's sex drives, there's your faith. How do you balance the two in such a sexually charged era?
Society
and we have a lot. I'm not perfect. We ain't perfect. But people need direction. So I wrote my dissertation on chastity to do with that. Philosophy was a great subject for me to grow as a human.
There's a lot of skills and things you can learn from it, transfer to anything. Life, work, university, jobs, anything.
Cognitively, it allowed me to grow more. I didn't go into picking philosophy thinking what I thought at the end. I just thought I need a subject to bridge me to get to PGCE.
I guess you kind of saw it as like an ends to a means to an end kind of.
Yes,
and in the end, it became massive.
There's a philosophical term for it. It was instrumental, and it ended up becoming intrinsic. I ended up appreciating it for its intrinsic value. But I started with it being instrumentally.
Something you needed.
A tool that I needed.
In the end, it was something that
I value.
Something you valued.
I value intrinsically within and within itself. The subject itself had value, and I wouldn't say everyone go and study it if they have no idea what they want to do at the end of it. Because, I can't lie. There are subjects that you can do that are so much more beneficial. Don't go to university and do a degree like philosophy if you're just doing it because you want to go to university.
No, you have to really think about it in the end, right? And you really make that. I mean, we have like a whole career section on our website as well.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
But you have to be really certain about what you want to do and understand it. You don't want to go into, for example, law or philosophy and then 2 years go by and realize you hate this.
Yes, that's why it's also valuable. And this is why I actually joined, a little bit of a plug to Knowness, but genuinely, the whole career section about it, getting an insight into what kind of subject that you're actually looking to do, or even just have a bit of an interest in. Like, I wish I told Noura and you, I wish I kind of had that little bit more inkling into philosophy before I went into it.
I had a bit more of an idea, like
fully. I would have actually hopefully gained that passion that I got at the end a little bit earlier.
Right at the start,
Exactly. I would have gone even deeper into that reservoir of knowledge that I actually ended up
really
being
tapped in and really, you know, made the most of it.
Exactly.
It is very valuable, the time you have at university and the stuff you learn.
Yeah. So the whole careers page for that is very valuable. But yeah, definitely understanding the subjects that you want to do and getting some information about that is extremely important.
Because with you, it was like initially at the start, right? A means to an end, right? An instrument.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, they may go in with that same mentality.
Yeah.
With you, you were very lucky in that you actually loved it.
Yeah.
And it was actually,
again,
know what I mean? Yeah.
Stroke of luck.
Yeah, which is crazy,
by the grace
right?
for the last one.
Yeah. And it all works out, you know, it's all like part of, you know, God's plan and like, you know, like, you know, fate and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it worked out perfectly, but it might not be for everyone. You know what I mean? Some people would go into law or this or that and realize, you know, 2 years down the line, I hate this.
And there are people who do that.
I know people like that. Yeah. Which is why like having that prior understanding and knowledge is so key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to be part of that movement that helps the next generation
figure out what it is that they want. Yeah.
Because
and to understand it as well.
Yeah. University can be extremely hard to navigate if you are uncertain about where you want to go in life. And if you go down the hedonistic route of university and go and explore pleasures and passions or whatever, and you don't actually focus on the academic value of it, you'll get lost. And that's, I'll say, if I could put a random, and this is not fact, if I could put a random statistic out there, I'd say at least 80% of the people who are at university who aren't doing STEM courses that have some sort of end goal are not actually working in the field they thought they would when they started university.
That's crazy.
There probably is definitely a stat out there.
No, I'm sure there is. Yeah. Because I've noticed it as well. It's something I've noticed a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of medics that go into medicine and they don't do medicine in the end. They leave and they go into consulting or all sorts of things because they realize they just don't enjoy it.
Is it because of the passion? I mean,
the passion isn't there. Is it because they think it's what they should do, not because it's what they should do?
Is it because it's such a strenuous course though? Like,
the
amount of stuff you have to do and physically work to just sink into your cognitive load is how hard is that to manage? I think that's another thing is being prepared for the type of degree you're going to do and understanding how much you're going to have to actually actively be learning on the spot.
Yeah.
Because some degrees are a bit more laissez-faire. You can kind of just relax a bit more. I can't lie to you. Philosophy was like that for me. I could just sit down and think and I'm doing my subject.
Just sit and think for like half an hour. It's like half an hour work.
Yeah.
Professor X, sit down and
Professor Xavier, man. I love that guy. Anyway, but other subjects require you to, like Baraf and Sophie behind the camera. I've seen like Baraf, who did mechanical engineering, which you can look at the careers thing eventually. He was at his computer like 24/7,
constantly working,
coding, looking at this little 3D thing. Made me feel real dumb because I was just sitting down there thinking, playing Smash Bros or whatever.
Whilst pondering about like a certain book.
Barry was up there just like,
typing away.
I'm just
like some wheelchairs thinking.
I'm just like,
Plato,
Plato, exactly. And he's there like actively like working out formulas.
It's very different, isn't it?
Extremely different. So knowing how much you're going to need to work is very important. And having people who have done those subjects giving you the advice, not some random my man down the street who just thinks he knows stuff but doesn't. People who've been through that journey and is there therefore conveying that information to you because it's relatable. And it goes back to having that inspirational figure.
And there's so much passion you have as well that led you to this, like this whole pathway is kind of built on your passion, right? Would you say like to become a teacher, what do you kind of have to think about? Is that passion like a requirement or can you do it if you're just interested in it? Like, what's your kind of thoughts? What does it take to become a teacher? What do you need? It's a bit of a tricky question.
I was about to say an absolute and Jedi do not deal in athletics. What was it? It's hard because anyone can hypothetically become a teacher, but to be a passionate one, to be one that actually hopefully would end up inspiring, which is what teaching ought to be, you have to have gone through hardship. And this is not me playing that violin and trumpet, but away from my academic life, my circumstances were terrible. And I'm not even talking about the street I was living on. I'm talking about more personal things that I guess we can always get into another time. But I was jumping from house to house. I never had a secure home. And only person I genuinely had was my brother. And he's my older brother. I love him to bits. He's the only person that I can say, like, I care for him and him only. Like the love that I have for him, and it's bad to say this, but it transcends that I have for my mother and father. Islamically, it's bad to say that. But this is me being honest. Me and him went through so much, and I've seen through his path Genuinely, this is not me just talking shop here. This is me being honest with you.
Yeah.
I've seen the opportunities that he had from how he laid his academic life. And the school that he went to, which was known as that was actually where people from my street and demographic actually went to. So the feeder school, the feeder streets and area was from my area. They all went to this school called the one that my brother went to.
Yeah.
And when I told you it was gangs, there was gangs there. It was Asians, Portuguese, and Afghans, and the blacks would be with the Portuguese, and then there was proper race wars, genuine race wars. There, 2 PCSOs
within a school,
active,
Yeah,
2
PCSOs.
Like
it's like some American prison.
That actually was that deep. Yeah. My secondary school, Kensington Community School at the time it was called. It wasn't like that. It was just poor white demographic. It was a bit of misbehavior, standard school. That was genuinely like some kind of
like prison gang violence.
Yeah. To a point where my brother literally got in so many fights that the PCSO there, and shout out to him because he inspired me and my brother to do boxing, who was known as Vicky or Chris Baker, because they're husband and wife. And they said, you know what, let's get you into boxing, because if you don't do that, you're going juvie. My brother was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And the school did not help him. The school really seemed like, you know what, he's trouble. Let's just leave him there and hopefully...
They kind of put that category on that person and that's it. That's
genuinely, they boxed my brother in.
Yeah.
And
as a kid, how did you get out of that box? Like,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like that's all you are.
His life was terrible, man. Academic life. His academic life was terrible, and his home life. Our home life was not great. But I'm not here to slag off my home life. But his academic life was not great, and the school and the institution did not help him at all. And I felt like he sacrificed a lot for me to get to where I had to get to. Genuinely, this is not me talking shop here. This is me being genuine. And he used to tell me when I was in year 6 and he was in year 8, school's bad. Like, you have to go in there, you have to make your mark, you have to protect yourself, you have to do this, because he went to so he's thinking every school's like this. I have to make sure my brother's prepped.
He thinks that's normal.
Exactly. I went into, this is what I told you, I went into Kenneth Simpson in year 7.
Straight
and I went there and I straight into fights. And that didn't help, I guess. But in terms of the kind of person that institution nurtured my brother into, it did not make him into the best person he could have been and unlocked his potential. He was not in the institution that actually unlocked what he could have been. And the first job I actually went to wasn't my old school. I went to his school.
Gotcha, okay.
Because I wanted
to be that change.
Yes. Yes, kids need a change from where I went to school. But kids
over there as well.
Over there, it was a where my brother was and where he could have been greater and greater than me and being what he, because it's sad now I think about it. It's sad because there's so many kids that are like that, could have been, especially from my area, that could be someone that are still at that doctors, school right now.
Engineers, astronauts, literally
from their area. And I really, really just wanted to, and I worked there for a bit. I worked there during my ITT year, my initial teacher training year, which was last year, before I graduated. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. Teaching the sort of kids there. I loved teaching there. The kids were relatable, they related to me. The lingo, the slang, everything that we would talk through it. There's a way of being professional and there's a way of being relatable.
And making those connections.
And balancing that and making those connections, exactly. So professionalism, you don't want to be a robotic professional. You want to be someone who's inspiring.
Yeah, you can't come in and just be very,
hello kids, turn to page 1.
Hello,
no
sir,
one's being
please
inspired.
take a seat.
No,
for the suit.
Exactly. You have to have that energy where you balance it. So I went and I taught these kids and they love me. And I love them. They were great kids. The type of staff in that department, they all came from completely different areas, came in and almost treated them like ruffians.
Just troublemakers, and that's all they are.
Genuinely. And I went there and I actually treated them like that kids who had potential. By the way, there are great teachers at that school, and even in that department that I worked in, were great. But the type of teachers that I saw at that institution, sure, they were great, maybe sometimes academic teachers, but in terms of the kind of environment they created for me there, I understood why certain students did not make it the way they could have. Gotcha. I understood why my brother wouldn't have been able to make it as far as he could have made it. Because of certain mindsets, how they boxed him in, the mindsets that these kind of people had. I realized I can't work here. I can't have a career at that school. I even said to them, I'd come back if the department changed. I didn't come to bullshit. I came to inspire. My job is the way it is. My passion is the way it is because I genuinely believe that I can have hopefully an impact on the next generation.
Yeah. And be that change, even if it's just one kid.
Yeah.
You're changing one life.
Yeah. Well, I hope I can change every kid's life.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
Exactly.
But
and it's possible.
Because
you realize that potential is there.
Yeah.
And you want to unlock it.
Yeah. Because every single kid has one.
Exactly.
They have circumstances, extenuating circumstances.
Exactly. But you
have to make sure it's a level ground.
Exactly. You do too. But it's making them know that those circumstances don't define them as a person.
Yeah. And treating them like they're in that bubble.
Exactly. Not treating them as like, it's just another troublemaker. It's just another, and that's all they are.
It's hard to reset though as a teacher. Yeah. And I empathize so much more with my teachers because we're told in teaching, right, you have to restart every day. Yeah. And like a kid will like smack you in the face hypothetically, and you have to go. You have to go back the next day. Hello, Jamie. How are you today? And it's like we don't work like that as humans, man. Yeah. But
it's hard to like push yourself into that kind of mindset.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't do that. If a kid has been disrespectful, he will understand or she will understand. See, I already put he and she's in the box. They will understand. There are consequences, and the way you treat me was disrespectful. Now we've got to have some sort of restorative conversation about whether you belong in my classroom or not. I have those discussions with students. And then we work through the behavior system. But you have to make sure that every single kid has the same opportunity. Yes, a kid may be way more disrespectful. I'm telling you, that's more of a reflection of what's going on at home than it is actually
them as a person.
Intrinsically as a person. A lot of my passion for teaching is obviously everything I've said before. It's my own circumstances, it's the Mr. Rushtons and Mrs. Martins and of my life, right? And Mr. O'Neill's and Miss Ferguson's. I can go on for days.
But I'll interrupt you quickly. But like the fact that there's so many names, even with me, you got Dr. George, you got Mr. Richardson. There's so many names.
Dr. George, you know.
I love that guy. But that's what I'm saying. The fact that there's so many names and they stick with you your whole life.
Yeah.
These teachers have such an impact on you. You remember them forever.
Bro, your brain's a sponge when you're a kid, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Your brain
the way I see it is like your brain is kind of like clay. Yeah. Very malleable. Then as you grow, that kind of solidifies.
Yeah. And oxygen gets into it and it gets a bit more.
Yeah. It fixes and it's stuck in that position.
Yeah.
And some people that grow up the whole life thinking like that's that troubled kid, that troublemaker, that's who they are. And they get involved in like all sorts of different, parts of life, but they don't realize like there's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why I feel like these teachers are so crucial, and people don't realize that enough.
It's the amount of power that a teacher can hold.
It's a crazy.
It's scary. I remember when
I think it really is scary. Yeah.
Yeah. No, genuinely.
Even me thinking about it, it's kind of
The reason why is because school is a kid's life.
Yeah, man.
At that stage, 5 days a week, from when they have to be in. Obviously, we're in much earlier, much later, but they come in at 8:30, stay until 3:34. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are in the waking hours of their lives, their daily lives. We see them more than their parents see them.
Yeah.
Which is also worrying, which is why a lot of people are thinking about homeschooling their kids.
Yeah.
They're exposed to us and our ideas and our values. We have to actually make sure that we are using our power correctly.
With great power
comes great responsibility. I was going to quote Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility. I remember when I first became a teacher and I used my teacher voice. Yeah. And I was like, everyone sit down. I was like, oh.
Yeah, you realize
the and then
power,
as soon as you realize you got that voice, as soon as you realize you can actually make commands to hopefully let people teach, you realize, okay, I need to make sure that I am doing the right thing. And thank God I'm not a malicious person. Thank God that I don't have any nefarious.
You walk in, there are teachers. Stand up.
Yeah,
sit down.
There are teachers like that. And I'm silly at times where students is disrespectful.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'll be like, do you want to take this outside? We can have a conversation about it. Why are you misbehaving?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Certain kids need a bit of humbling, but with the great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm glad that I never had a teacher who overstepped their authority in a way that humiliated me. I'm not trying to do that to any other kid.
Yeah.
What was the focus of the question that you asked us?
Just about I can't remember.
See, we just around so much. Yeah. Professional waffle here, I promise you.
No, but I mean, there's so many like key like insights and takeaways from what you've said. So it's hard to kind of like focus into one.
I mean,
it's
a general discussion. We can talk on hours about really
hours about this kind of stuff. Yeah. No, I guess like the main thing is kind of just like I don't even remember, to be honest. But yeah, no. I think the power, like we said, the power that they hold over you is crazy. Yeah, and it is scary in a way, but I guess, it's kind of exciting as well, realizing how much good you can do. Yeah. How much lives you can change as a teacher.
Yeah, on that actually, I remember when I'll dive into it a little bit. Obviously, you guys can cut and shit however you guys want to.
Yeah.
But when I was at University of Nottingham, the reason that I left was, and I'll tell you, this is a genuine story. I was training at University of Nottingham, and I was at school for placement, and it's a top 100 school.
Yeah.
What was it called? It was called.
No idea what that is, but yeah.
Just for context, people want to go and search it. Great school, one of the best in the world, genuinely.
Is this at Nottingham?
In Nottingham, yeah. It's in a place called, or is that Birmingham? See, I'm confused now. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Anyway, I went there. The teachers were the issue.
Gotcha.
In terms of how they treated each other, the kind of mindsets they had.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I could not train there. They were great with students. Their teaching was amazing.
But they didn't connect with your values or what you believed in. And I don't think people realize how much power you have as a teacher.
Yeah.
And at the same time, how much responsibility you have.
Yeah.
Not just in your behavior. Obviously, you have to behave in a certain manner, but also the responsibility of their futures.
Yeah.
The inspiration. It's your responsibility to make them, achieve and make them realize that they can achieve anything.
And it's how you hold yourself as well.
Yeah, as a teacher, as a person.
People, my mates take the mick out me for it, but I go into school every day with a 3-piece suit. Swear to God.
No,
I don't dress well. Look, right now, I think these are water stains, but I've got like some stains on my thing. Like I'm not really, I don't really care about how I dress. I got a trim for the shoot, but in terms of my my everyday going to school, I try and look the part. Why?
Yeah.
Because I want people to realize that this is how you can look. Hopefully, if you actually try an education, you can actually wear a suit that looks nice. Yeah. It's a bit corny.
You can look formal. You can look smart.
But exactly, your future can look just as formal, just as hopefully academic as this. And yes, I can hit the slang. Yes, I can talk in certain ways and have discussions about. Exactly. I can put up a tracksuit. Normally, I'm in shorts and a jumper. That's just me. Still, some students still see me walking down my street because obviously demographic-wise, they see me. I get a takeaway. They'll be like, "Yo, sir." I'm like, "Don't call me sir. Don't call me sir." I swear to God, I was at the boxing event I told you about before. About 3 of my ex-students were at that boxing event.
Crazy,
"Yo, sir." I was like, "Don't call me sir." Hey, bro, genuinely now when people are around, there's like 100, 200 people in the building. Yeah, it's all silent. People watching the boxing. They're like, "Sir." I was like, "Don't call me sir." But yeah, what I was saying is inspiring not just through what you're teaching them and the content, but also how you're presenting yourself. And the kind of person that you are mentally also transcends that. Do you know what I mean? The way you dress, the way you talk, the way you think, it all transcends. So you have to be that figure at the front.
I mean, we've spoken a lot about kind of your own personal journey, your passions, the whole concept of power and responsibility, which is, again, I honestly think it's super inspirational. And,
Appreciate it.
It makes me feel kind of like, I guess, hopeful, with the future generations, because I had that in my life, right? You've had that in your life. So a figure like that, teacher like that, right? You could list a couple, I could list a couple, but not everyone has that, And I guess, what I want to do now is move more broadly into the topic of teaching, right? I don't know, from this conversation and even from the past, I kind of want to be a teacher. I kind of like teaching, but like, what's the process like? Because I know there's like it was a PGC. But I don't know how it works. Can anyone do it? Do you need a certain degree?
Okay,
How do you be a teacher? Walk me through it. Tutorial. How do you be a teacher?
So to be a teacher, all you need is actually something called a QTS, which is a qualified teacher status.
Gotcha.
However, you can go to a school and you can apply and they can train you as an unqualified teacher, but you get mentoring and you can be a teacher like that. But you have to work your way up. I have a teacher who's at school actually, who's unqualified, but she's, had so much experience she can teach. But she doesn't get the teacher pay. She gets like an unqualified pay. But the best way, that's debated, but how to be a teacher, get a degree, go to a school, ask them if you can, train with them and get a qualified teacher status. They will likely tell you to go and apply for a SCIT, which is a school-centered initial teacher training program, which is where you can go and do a postgraduate certificate of education or eventually gain that qualified teacher status. The one that I did when I went to Nottingham, I went to the University of Nottingham and they offered a literal postgraduate course called Postgraduate Certificate of Education in English. And they put you into a school and like mine was Rushcliffe and you basically start off, no matter what you are doing, if you're starting to become a teacher, you will start off observing, which is just watching other teachers teach. You'll sit in the back of the class and you'll watch this teacher gesticulate and talk and hopefully inspire these kids. And you note down the different pedagogical techniques that they're using. They're using cold calling, they're using loads of different techniques, and you research them. So then you go back and, you know, you research the techniques they're doing, and you hopefully start to employ them when you start to get lessons. So depending on your progress and how comfortable you are, you'll be given one lesson to teach a week.
Yeah.
And then for that one lesson of the week, you have to lesson plan it. You have to do loads of different documents for it. And then you go and you do the lesson, you introduce yourself to the class, and you literally, there you go. You just walk straight in there.
Yeah.
But there are loads of different avenues to becoming a teacher. But mostly all you need to actually to get on the pay scale and everything, qualified teacher status, to be able to teach abroad, you need a PGCE. So all you need in the UK, or I guess you could say, I think there's a thing with Wales or Scotland, but you need a qualified teacher status to just teach in the UK. To teach abroad, you need a postgraduate certificate of education. Some people can teach English as a foreign language. You could do a TEFL, and you can I've
seen that a few of these online.
You can do that.
They fund it, or they...
Yeah, well, yeah, you can do that.
I thought about doing something like that.
Yeah, and I do want to do that in the future. Yeah, because like, who doesn't want to make money in Dubai or something? You know what I'm saying? Or go to like Australia. I really want to go to Australia, mate. Yeah, like maybe. Yeah. But to actually go to a good school where you'll have good pay and good experience, a postgraduate certificate of education will allow that. It will open the doors for you to go to a school where you'll get paid well and it's international. Like hopefully one day I want to go teach in Qatar. I want to go teach inshallah, I want to go teach in Australia. I want to go teach in different places. And hopefully like see what life's like out there. Cause I didn't get to like travel. Half his graduates didn't get to travel. I went straight from GCSEs to A-levels to university to postgraduate to now I'm here sitting here with you. I have not had time to actually go and enjoy my life. And do, you know what I mean? Exactly. This way I can teach and travel.
But could you, like, let's say, hypothetically, if you were to, midway through your teaching career, could you just take a year out? Is that like a thing that you can do? Or
mid-year? No. Well, you could. Hypothetically, you shouldn't. Ethically, you shouldn't.
You gotcha, yeah.
Half of me.
Oh, because then you leave your students with that.
Bro, yeah. You're going to leave your students with a sub.
Yeah, for a whole year. Which is not ideal.
I mean, if you said to...
continuity and all sorts of reasons.
Yeah, like if you had a pregnancy thing, like if you're the father, you got paternity leave or maternity leave if you're obviously the mother. It makes sense, that's different, yeah. But if you're just wanting to just say, you know what, this is long, dip.
Go to Japan for like a good...
Yeah, I mean, you hypothetically could, but ethically, what's the point? Half of me also, like, basically, as soon as you become a teacher and you graduate, so you've passed your qualified teacher status, you have done your PGC or not, you don't have to get a PGC. As soon as you have your qualified teacher status, your QTS, you have to do 2 years of something called an early ECT, early career teaching, which is what I'm in now. I'm an ECT one. ECT one. It's like the first year of being a teacher who's graduated. So yes, I'm an ECT one. Next year, I'm an ECT two. So what these years mean is,
I was going to ask, what's the difference between
an ECT one? You are kind of assessed quite similarly to your ITT, your first year, but it's less rigorous. You don't have to give lesson plans as much, and you don't have to complete as many assignments. It's more, you're observed. Maybe 3 times a term. And before you was getting observed every lesson. Now you just get observed maybe 3 times in 1 term.
Gotcha, okay.
And they write a report on what you've done well, what you could do better. And then you work on that for the next one. And they just say, yeah, he's doing okay. And they tick it.
This is regulated by like, I forgot what it's called there. Is it Oxford? No, Oxford. No.
Oh, Ofsted.
No. How's it? Who regulates? Is it the schools themselves, or is it like
early careers framework? There's a framework that your institution might sign up for. By the way, I'm probably not the best for giving knowledge about this, but from what I know, you sign up for an early careers framework, and you work through the programs that your institution has recommended for you, and also the region that you work in, the Department of Education.
And they assess you.
And depending on the criteria, they'll assess you. You can't really, you can fail because you could be a horrible person and do terrible things. But it's really hard to fail if you've somehow pass your ITT completely fine. You're not gonna fail your ECT. You just have to keep working at it.
After ECT2 is it what's after that?
You're a full teacher.
That's it.
Yeah.
And is isn't anything further after that to like climb the ranks or
hell yeah. Ahead or, people
so tell me about that, because I don't even know.
Okay, I'll be real with you, and all you guys can probably maybe even understand as well, like there's a stereotype that teachers don't get paid much.
I was gonna mention that.
And I'll be completely honest. When I started wanted to become a teacher, it was 22 grand for the year. Really low. So they are correct.
Yeah.
Then I wanted to be a teacher. I started it. It was 28 grand when I was at University of Nottingham. So 2 years ago. Or 2 years ago. I was like, oh, decent.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a decent step
People were still taking the mickey. You're getting a job 28k. I was like, I didn't do it for money, so go away. And then it went up to 30k.
Yeah.
As soon as I actually started teaching. I was like, okay, damn.
Climbing your way up.
Genuinely, like last month went up to 31k for the base salary for a teacher.
Yeah.
I'm living all right. Obviously, it's still deep because inflation's up.
Yeah.
But
still
it's not as bad as it once was.
People make out to be.
Yeah. So what you do is you can go up to around like 45 to around 60k by being a regular teacher without taking any particular.
I thought that would be for like a head or something.
Actually, or maybe around 45. Yeah, without taking any extra responsibility. Yeah. You can search it online. You can see how much. Literally, you basically do this kind of. You take a little bit of a test thing, and at the end of the year, if you've passed the test kind of like thing, if you've done something like you've created a scheme of work, you've bumped up to the next pay scale. It's called the M pay scale and the U pay scale. It's like the mid pay scale, I think it's called, and then there's the upper pay scale.
Yeah.
I'm M1, and it goes up to like M5. M1's at 31k, M2's like 34k, all the way up to like 45, I think. Yeah. As soon as you take responsibility, in terms of as soon as you take some sort of head of year, and as soon as you take some sort of, I don't know, pastoral responsibility, you'll move up to the U pay scale, I believe. Again, I'd say search it, look at different places that have more information about that. But there are so many opportunities for you to move up constantly in education because we need more teachers. And I've said this, it's become a joke amongst my friendship group. We need more teachers.
No, but it's true. I've heard this. Same with medicine.
We need
doctors.
it.
We need
badly.
more doctors. We need more teachers.
Because think about it. If there's not going to be enough teachers, if there's not enough teachers, we have to put more kids in a classroom.
And then it
less
becomes
effective.
more pressured. It becomes more, there's not that
less effective.
it's less effective. Yeah.
Bro, think about it. Right now, average around 22 to 30 kids a class. Less teachers. More kids still because people are still doing a business.
And then it's less focused.
Less focused. The environment becomes more chaotic. There's more distractions now because there's more special educational needs and there's more of a, I guess you could say, disruption in the environment for them. You're just going to get loads of kids who are not focusing, completely disengaged. Yeah. And you're going to have a teacher who's just like at the front, who's just
you got too much going on. You don't have time to think about, I want to work on this kid's future and this kid's inspire this kid.
I want to use this technique. No, you're just trying to work out how to babysit 50 kids now.
Yeah, and how to finish the workload in bulk. Yeah. And then by the time you do all of that, there's no time to think about, okay, now I want to focus on this person, that person, or, Yeah.
A lot of it is behavior management as well. And this is difficult to speak about because, what do you call it? A lot of teachers would agree, but there is a difference between male teachers and female teachers too. With behavior management, we've seen a trend that kids especially, they will treat male teachers completely different to female teachers. Being in English as well, myself as an archetype, as an Asian man, who is, I guess you could say, a bit more hopefully on the masculine scale than the feminine scale, right? You don't really come across someone who is my archetype in an English department. Asian, English, by the way. English.
From my experience.
Do not get that. The school I'm at now actually is very, very rare in terms of the kind of department we have. We have 4 males, which is extremely rare. I've worked in departments. The last 2 departments I worked in only that had no males. And now there's 1 or 4.
For the English ones,
Exactly. So, having kids also who have male role models are very, very important because kids do treat male and female teachers completely differently because they feel like they could get away with it more sometimes with female teachers. And again, it does depend on the behavior management strategies, but we see it. I remember when I was at school, how it's very bad to think about it, but I remember what my mindset was. Kids haven't changed that much, man. You have to be extremely strict, and a lot of teachers are feeling that pressure. And if you know on the TikToks and the social media about everything to do with teachers, if you go on teacher TikTok or teacher Reels or whatever it's called. I don't have TikTok. I have Instagram though. You see how teachers, how under pressure they are. You see how tired they are. And male and female teachers both, but you see it so much more from female teachers who are talking about
and you see a lot about like, on the news and stuff like that with all the protests and the
there's been protests and stuff about teaching for age, teacher pay and everything. University had jarred me though, man. Like I'm just trying to get my assignments done, and why every single time there's some sort of protest, like, hey, can I just get
on with the job?
But yeah, I also appreciate the kind of role model I am as a man in English, teaching English. Like the kids need male role models, because it's one thing to talk about single motherhood at home. They need role models. Imagine if you also go to school and you haven't got that male role model. We need that. And I think
again, it goes back to kind of the responsibilities and the power that teacher has that people don't really think about.
And when they have it, they need to use it wisely.
Yeah, it's not really a case of walking into a classroom, you teach and move on with your life.
No.
It's a lot wider.
When you're a teacher, man, it's sad to say, but it does become your whole life. Like your personality does shift a bit. I remember when I first became a teacher, I started talking to my brother and my friends as if they was my students. And I had to reality check myself, and I had to be like, sorry,
I had a friend who was a teacher, and sometimes the way that they would phrase things, it kind of came across as what's the word when you're kind of talk down on someone?
Demeaning almost.
Demeaning. But they didn't realize that's actually just they were in that teacher mode.
It's so hard to get out of that, man. I might have even done it like 15 billion times in this thing here, but you need to be a great male role model. And you have to understand the power that comes with that, the responsibility that comes with that. Because a lot of these times you're actually parenting these kids. You are. Because a lot of these kids are going through certain circumstances at home. You are filling those gaps. You're not babysitting, but you are nurturing the next generations and their mind. So when they come into school, I know that if I say something nice, it could be the first nice thing they heard that day. If I put a negative energy in it, I'm only going to be potentially filling something. And avoid that it's only going to get bigger. Kids need role models. Kids need male role models.
Would you not say this kind of amount of responsibility is scary and kind of off-putting? Because let's say someone's watching who wants to be a teacher. They may hear all this and think it's a bit too much.
True.
What was kind of your thoughts on that? Like
teaching it can be extremely difficult. It's not impossible to manage. To be a good teacher can be difficult. It's not impossible to manage. But you have to realize, if I genuinely wanting to be a good teacher, the amount of work that you will have to do, it shouldn't be something that is a burden to you. If you're going into this profession, and they'll say it as soon as you start training, if you got into this profession for the money, get out.
And because then you start seeing
get out.
Chore,
no facts. You're not in this for the money at all.
And it's the students.
There are way easier ways, man.
There are
way easier ways of making money.
With the same amount of effort, if you put that into like
something else,
business or economics or something like that, you'd make so much more money.
Facts, and you would. It's not about doing it for the money.
You're doing it, because that's something you're passionate about. You want to help. You want to teach. So enjoy teaching.
Teachers who want to teach, who want to get into teaching, you're not getting in it for the money. You're hopefully getting in it to inspire. It is going to be hard work. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for them. I'm not going to say it's the easiest thing in the world. Primary or secondary teaching, it is difficult. Mentally, the load it can take on you is difficult. And people can take it easier and people can take it harder than others. I personally don't find it as hard maybe as my next door neighbor were teaching it, because I've become accustomed to what my purpose is. I'm here to hopefully inspire. I'm not here for the money. I've got sketches on, man. I don't care about money.
It's not it's not why you're doing it. It's
no,
the root of everything.
Exactly. I'm here. My purpose that I found is obviously to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's also to hopefully inspire the next generation. I did not do this for the money. I do not want a mansion and a Ferrari. I know that I just want to be here and have a good life, have a wife, have kids, and hopefully provide knowledge for the next generation.
I think overall, like one of the biggest takeaways I've gotten as well is the whole concept of power and responsibility. You don't really hear or see many people acknowledge and really show that how important that is as a teacher. But it's been a super insightful conversation. Into what it's like to be a teacher, how to become a teacher. And I've certainly like learned a lot as well. I kind of want to become a teacher
Bro,
as well.
everyone needs to become
inspirational.
teachers. Become a teacher right now.
Yeah, there is a shortage. So if anyone wants to become a teacher, become a teacher.
Facts, please.
Yeah.
But understand also the kind of mission that you're undertaking.
Exactly. Yeah. Not just become it for the sake of it.
No.
It sounds cool.
Again,
for the money.
Do it because you are there to inspire.
Mm-hmm. Well, there'll be more on that on our website in the career section. But yeah, make sure to follow us on knowness.com or Knowness app, all social medias. And yeah, thank you so much, Amaan, again. And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.